This is the last video of my first month on YouTube, and I want it to be the most useful thing that I have given to you so far. Maybe not the most inspiring or the most emotionally moving, though I hope it's all that too, but the most useful, the most practically actionable. The thing that closes this month out with something you can actually do. Because here's what I hear most often, consistently, from people who are sitting at the crossroads of this midlife season of life. It's not, I don't want to change. Most people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s are on the threshold of wanting to change. They feel the desire for something different. They sense that the next chapter is possible. See, it's not, I don't believe change is possible. At some level, they know something new is available to them. But what I hear most often is, I don't know where to start. The desire is there, but the definition isn't. Something in them is ready, but the starting point's fuzzy. And because the starting point feels unclear, they wait. They want to feel more ready. They want to be clearer. They wait for the right moment, for the circumstances to align, for uncertainty to just dissolve, for the path, to be obvious before they take the first step. There was a professor in a seminary one time who said something that was remarkable. He said, almost in passing, the people who are waiting to feel ready before they begin are waiting for something that only arrives after you've already started. Now, I've tested that observation against 4 decades of watching real people navigate real change in their life. He was right every time. Readiness is not something you feel before you begin. It's something you build by beginning. Clarity doesn't precede the start. Clarity comes from the start. You don't think your way to the next chapter. You design your way to the next chapter. I think about the way a skilled architect approaches a new building. They don't have the complete building fully formed in their mind before, they start putting a pencil to paper. They have a vision, a sense of what they're building toward, a set of values, intentions for what the building should be and could do. And they have a starting point. They draw one wall, and then the wall suggests the next wall. And then 2 walls together start suggesting the shape of the room. The room suggests the relationship to adjacent rooms, and the rooms together suggest the building. And the whole emerges because the architect began. You can't see the complete building before you start drawing the first thing. You always draw the first wall. The first wall is not a commitment to every decision that follows. You can change it, but it's an act of beginning. And the act of beginning is what makes everything else possible. That's what I want to give you today, the act of beginning, the first wall drawn, if you will. 4 questions. When you sit with them honestly, not skimming them, not giving quick, easy answers, but sitting with each one for a few minutes, they begin to unlock design for your next chapter. They begin to show you the shape of a chapter that's waiting for you to build it. Question 1. What did you love doing before life got complicated? Not what were you supposed to love, not what made practical sense for the season you were in, not what was financially responsible or professionally appropriate or what everybody affirmed. What genuinely made you feel most like yourself? What were you doing when you lost track of time because you were so engaged that the hours just disappeared? What brought you alive in a way that had nothing to do with whether anyone was watching or whether there was a reward at the end? A man in his early 60s who'd spent 30 years in corporate finance was asked that question, what brings you alive? And he sat quiet for a long time. And then he said, I used to build things with my hands. Before the career took over completely, I built furniture. I built a porch on my parents' house when I was 22. I built a tree house for my kids when they were young. I used to spend whole Saturdays in a garage thinking about joining and wood grain and how things fit together. But he hadn't built anything in over 20 years. And when he was asked, what brings you alive, he looked puzzled, as if that question had never occurred to him. And he said, I guess I thought it was something you did when you were young because real life happened. Something in him had been waiting 20 years, waiting. Question 2, what do people consistently say you're good at? Not your resume or your professional accomplishment, not things you were trained for or hired for or officially responsible for. What do the people who know you across different contexts over many years, different kinds of situations, consistently observe about you? What do they say? What do they come to you for? Not because of your title, but because of who you are. See, there's a pattern in those observations, and the pattern's not a coincidence, it's data. It's the world trying to show you something about yourself that you may have been just too close to see clearly. Question 3, What kind of contribution would make you feel genuinely alive? Not just useful or productive, not just doing something to keep you busy, but alive. The way you feel when you're doing exactly the right thing for exactly the right reason in exactly the right way. And when there's alignment between what you're doing and who you are, that makes the work feel less like work and more like honest expression. The kind of contribution that fits your specific shape. And you probably already know what category it's in, even if you don't yet know exactly what it might look like fully. Question 4, what would you regret not having tried? I know this is an uncomfortable one. It's the one that cuts through all the careful reasoning about what's realistic, what's responsible, what's appropriate for someone at your stage of life. It goes directly to what matters now for you. You know, there's a palliative care nurse named Bronnie who spent years sitting with people in the last weeks of their lives. She wrote about what she observed, specifically what people said when they knew the end was near and they were looking back on the whole arc of their lives. The most common regret was not something they had done, it was something they had never done. The conversation they put off, the things they'd always meant to do, the version of themselves they'd intended to become but never quite got around to. She said the grief in those moments was unlike anything else she encountered in her work because it was grief over a door that had been left unopened for so long that it was no longer possible to walk through it. What door are you standing in front of right now? Those 4 questions, that frames the first wall. And here's what happens when you go 12 layers deeper in each of them with some guidance. The Fresh Start journey takes those questions and builds a 12-week guided process around them. The complete dream framework, video curriculum, and a community of people walking with you. You'll leave that experience with a dream design, a tangible document, your next chapter in your own words, built around who you actually are now. The link for Fresh Start is in the description. If you want something more personal, if you need maybe not curriculum, but somebody who knows your specific name and your specific story in your journey, I offer the private experience, 3 months working directly with me, and that link's also in the description. And if you're in Southern California, our home is going to be open on Saturday, June 27th for 12 people only, and I'm going to teach the dream process in one day. Karen and I are going to do this together, and that link is there as well. Well, this is the end of month 1. And I want to say something to everyone who's been here since the beginning. You've watched these videos. Thank you. Thank you for showing up. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for the replies. Thanks for choosing to subscribe. Thanks for honest conversations and for trusting me with where you are. This channel exists, and I believe this with everything I am, for the person standing at the crossroads who needs more than a motivational quote. You deserve a real process, a real guide, a real path forward built specifically for where you are. You've had a good run. You're not done. And I'll see you next week as we continue this journey together.